circuit, and it says use superposition to find I1 and I2. Okay, so as I talked in the class, for superposition, we looked at independent sources. Here we have two sources and both of them are independent. And we keep one of them and basically put the other ones equal to 0. And then we just do this for every source. So first, for example, keep this 120 volt and then put this current source equal to 0. And when we basically put a current source equal to 0, we mean that we open circuit this, right? And then I keep the current source and put the voltage source equal to 0, means that I have to short circuit this, okay? So therefore, we will have two circuits to solve. And for each circuit, I look at I1 and I2, and then I will just add. For example, I1 prime and I1 double prime in one circuit, I2 prime and I2 double prime in another circuit, and I just add them. Okay, so let's start. So therefore, step 1, I would say let's, it doesn't matter, keep the 120 volt voltage source and basically open them, because this has to be open circuit, open the current source. Okay. So therefore, the equivalent circuit would be, I have the 120 volt, 6 ohm, 3 ohm, 2 ohm, and 4 ohm, and that's the current source is open. Okay, and then I will also solve I prime 1 and I prime 2. So this is our first circuit. So let's solve this. Okay, so I have a voltage, and basically what we can do to somehow maybe find an R equivalent. And then after I find, for example, R equivalent of here, and then the whole circuit, I can find I prime 1 and then go from there. Okay, so first 2 and 4 are in series, so I add them. So these two, I just add them. It's gonna be 6 ohm. And then the 6 ohm is in series with 3 ohm. Right, so 6 ohm. Sorry, in parallel. Of course, it's a parallel, right? This 6, the whole thing connected to this 3 ohm, which is 6 times 3 divided by 6 plus 3, 18 divided by 9, 2 ohm. Very good. So therefore, the whole thing here now is 2 ohm. And now this 2 ohm is in series with the 6 ohm. So somehow we have the 6 ohm, and then the equivalent of that part is 2 ohm. This is 120 volt. And this is I1 prime, which we can say is the current, right? It is 120 divided by, again, 6 plus 2, right? Because the equivalent resistor is 6 plus 2, so 20 divided by 8, 6 plus 2 is the current, which is 120 divided by 8. 15 amp. Okay, very good. And now I know I1 prime is 15 amp. Now I have to find I prime 2, right? So as you can see, somehow a current is coming to this node and it's divided. So it's like a current division, right? So to find I prime 2, it's a current division. So I prime 2 is equal to, it's just two parallel paths. So remember I told you the formula that it becomes basically the other resistance, which is 3 divided by 3 plus this 2 plus 4, which is 6. And then times the current that is coming inside. Okay, so I hope everybody sees that. So basically what happens is that 15 amp is coming, and then there are 2 paths. One is 3 ohm. The other one is 2 plus 4, which is 6 ohm. And I'm looking for this current, which is I2 prime, when the 15 is coming. Okay, so it's a current division. 3 divided by 3 plus 6 times the current. So this becomes this 3 divided by 9, basically. 3 divided by 9 times 15, which is 5 amp. So I prime 2 is 5 amp. Okay, so somehow we make sure we have them marked. But this is when we open circuit the current source. Now we have to do the second step, which I keep the current source and short circuit the voltage source. Okay. So let's do that. So step 2, we keep the 12 amp current source and short circuit the voltage source. Here's our circuit would be, if I short circuit this, so if I short circuit this, I hope everybody agrees that 6 and then 3 will be parallel. So basically I can even rearrange it a little bit. This 6, this is 3, and don't forget that I1 is going now this way, and by the way I call it I1 double prime. Okay, then I have the 2 ohm, I have the 4 ohm, and then I have a 12. And we have I2 double prime. Okay, very good. We have a current source, and then we have some resistors. So we're looking at this. If we can find the equivalent resistance of this part, then it's gonna be two parallel paths, and there's a current source. We can do the current division. So therefore, let's look at the equivalence of here. 6 and 3, 6 parallel with 3. And then parallel and then added, it's in series with 2. So 6 times 3 divided by 6 plus 3, which is 18 divided by 9 is 2. So this parallel part is 2 ohm. And then that 2 ohm is in series with the other 2 ohm. Total is 4 ohm. Okay. So therefore, somehow we can simplify this as there was a 4 ohm here. There was a 12 amp here, but there's also a 4 ohm here. Yeah, 4 ohm here. And my I double prime 2 is here. Okay, very good. So it seems to be a current division. Yeah. But just look at one thing. The direction of 12 amp is this way. Okay. So therefore, this 12 amp is going out. So somehow I can define, I don't know, like I3 or something, and I4. And then let's do the I3, but then we know that I double prime 2 is negative of that. So I3 is basically just two parallel thing. It's simple. The formula 4 divided by 4 plus 4 times 2. So it becomes 6 amp. So 6 amp is going up. So what's I double prime 2? It's negative of that. So I double prime 2 is negative of I3. Therefore, it's negative 6. Okay. So this is I double prime, I2 double prime. And then I need to find I1 double prime. Okay, so let's see. So if I double prime is negative 6 amp, we can do a KCL here. And actually this I4 that you see here is the same node, right? So I4 is the same here. So I4. So 12 amp is going this way. So 6 is going up. And therefore 6 is also incoming. 6 plus 6 is 12, right? So the current here is 6 amp. Therefore, if you look at here, there's another current division. I had the 6O, I had the 3O, and then there is a 6 amp going out of that. Here, I4. Again, we don't care about the rest of the circuit, okay? The only thing is that, okay, 6 amp is basically coming from these two parallel paths. It's a current division. Let's call this, which was originally I1 double prime. So I1 double prime is equal to this current, this resistor 3 divided by 3 plus 6 times 6. 3 divided by 9. 1/3 of 6 is 2. Okay, very good. So now we found these two values, and the superposition says, now this is a At the end, we have to add things. Superposition says I1 equal to I1 prime plus I1 double prime, which I1 prime was 15 and 15 plus I1 double prime is 17 and I2 is I2 prime plus I2 double prime. I2 prime was 5 and I2 double prime is -6, so -1 and